Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the show. My name is Michael Rebello. I'm a 20-year-old real estate entrepreneur who chose entrepreneurship over the traditional college path. And today, I am honored to have Robert Kiyosaki as my guest today. Robert, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's my honor, Michael. Thank you.
Of course. And if you don't mind, I'm going to introduce you really quick to our audience. Robert Kiyosaki is an entrepreneur, investor, and educator best known as the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one of the most influential personal finance books of all time. Through his Rich Dad Company and best-selling books, Robert has helped millions rethink money, work, and investing, challenging the old paradigms of saving, job security, and formal education. His teachings emphasize financial literacy, asset ownership, and using business and real estate vehicles for freedom. And I'd love to dive into that a little bit. So let's get into the questions really quick. So Robert, after hearing various amount of series from your podcasts and interviews and what you do with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, along with your Rich Dad channel, you said that the school system trains people to be employees and not entrepreneurs. For young people like me, and for those that we're trying to teach on the Main Street Media Network, who chose the entrepreneurship path early, what are the biggest mindset shifts that we need to master in order to fulfill that?
Well, a big part is to change your words. Like, I grew up saying, go to school so you can get a job.
Right.
Work hard, pay taxes, save money, get out of debt, buy a house, and invest in a 401k. That's for losers. You know what I mean? That's not for a capitalist. I'm a capitalist.
Right.
And so if you want to be an employee, fine, it'll work for you. But the hard part for me as a kid, every time I was told, go to school to get a job, work hard, pay taxes and all this, I went, but I don't want to do that. So the hard part for me was to fight for my sanity. Because way back then, there wasn't this here. There was no choice. So when I told my poor dad I didn't want to get a job, he was just like, you can't do that. But we're indoctrinated to be employees. So finally, I said, I just want to be rich. He says, well, talk to your rich dad. I said, why? Well, he's an entrepreneur. I said, why is he an entrepreneur? I says, I don't know. He's an entrepreneur. He doesn't need a job. I said, I like that. So that's the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And Rich Dad never went to school. And I would say my rich dad was a capitalist, and my poor dad's a Marxist. They're not bad people. There's nothing wrong being a Marxist. Mm-hmm. But Marxists believe in paying taxes. Marxists believe in labor unions. If you read the Communist Manifesto, our school teachers are Marxists. Workers of the world unite, that's labor union. A graduated income tax is essential for the spread of communism. And so our schools teach you to pay taxes. And Rich Dad says, I don't do any of that. So as a kid, I was 10, and my rich dad started teaching me to play Monopoly. So I said, why am I playing Monopoly? And he says, good question. Finally, you ask a question. He says, Monopoly is one of the greatest games on earth. He said, why is that? He says, 4 greenhouses, 1031 tax deferred exchange into a red hotel. So today, I own red hotels. And what I learned, that's why I created the cash flow board game, because Maria Montessori was one of the greatest educational entrepreneurs of all times. She says, what the hand does, the mind remembers. So I created the cash flow board game to teach accounting. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, accounting is the key. Accounting is the key skill of an entrepreneur. The trouble is, when I was in the MBA program, the worst subject was accounting. And on top of that, the accounting teacher didn't know what he was talking about. I already knew more about accounting because my rich dad already taught me all this stuff. So I created the cash flow board game so young people can have fun, but learn accounting. Because you cannot control your money, your cash flowing from assets, liabilities, income, expense, taxes, and all this. You're not a good entrepreneur. And I mean, most entrepreneurs, they may make money or they fail, first of all. 9 out of 10 fail. But if you can't control your cash flow, It finished. So that's why the board game is cash flow, and Wall Street Journal called it monopoly on steroids. So cash flow is played all over the world, and it's the basics of being an entrepreneur.
Interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I feel the same way about the education system because I skipped college. I wanted to do entrepreneurship in the beginning. Junior year of high school, I realized that, what am I learning? I mean, it's not really helping me. It's not helping my mission to retire my mother by any stretch of the imagination. So I had to go off the beaten path and do something different. That's how I got into multifamily real estate. Right now, Mom and I are co-managing 152 units out of Texas. And it's just going to compound affecting from there.
That's called monopoly.
Exactly.
Board game. 4 greenhouses, multifamily units.
Exactly. But I definitely want to go into our next question about your philosophy and about your mindset that you have. A big part of your philosophy is about acquiring assets that generate income. In
Well,
today's
it doesn't generate income. It's not an asset.
It's true.
You buy a house and you're losing money. It's a liability
Right. Assets. You
by
need assets.
definition.
Right.
Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money from your pocket. It's called financial literacy.
That's right.
Okay, that's why they have financial statements, everything.
Fair point.
My bankers never ask me for my report card. Banker only wants to see my financial statement. And 90% of graduates from college don't know what a financial statement is.
Nope. Huh. Good point. But with today's market, with high interest rates, inflation, and just uncertainty, it's going around the Main Street media. How do you see real estate fitting into that strategy nowadays?
It doesn't affect me that much.
Yeah?
I can create my own deals. I just bought a house using gold. Okay, because I
Interesting.
bought the gold at 300 an ounce. I exited around 3,800 an ounce. I made so much money on it, I just bought a house with it. So I have my latest house is 4.5 million for a residence. No debt on it because I paid cash for it, but the cash came from my gold, what I bought for 3, exited at 3,800.
Interesting. That's impressive. I didn't even know you could do something like that. This is why I need to hang around people like you more often, because I learn more.
Well, that's why on Bitcoin and Ethereum, do you know, I mean, people get in these stupid arguments about which is better, you know, real estate, stocks, bonds, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and gold, silver. I have all of it. Why argue about stupid things?
Right?
It's like some places, well, what's better, gold or silver? I said, I own the gold and silver mine. I'm an entrepreneur. I want to own the mine and the gold and the silver.
Exactly.
Okay? But that's what that was a book, The Cash Flow Quadrant, which is second. ESBI. I don't know if you guys read that book, but it's the most profound book of all the Rich Dad series. E stands for employee. S stands for self-employed or small business, or a specialist like a doctor or lawyer. The E and S is what you go to school for. You go to school to be an employee, or you go to school to be a specialist, a doctor, a lawyer, stuff like that. The B and the I are the capitalist side. And B stands for big business, 500 employees or more. So when I talk to most entrepreneurs, they're S's. They're small business. They pay the highest taxes possible. That's really stupid. I don't pay taxes. And I doesn't stand for investor. I stands for insider. So I'm here at the New Orleans Investment Conference. I don't buy stocks or bonds. I invest in the inside, and I sell to the outside. So the Cash Flow Quadrant is a book. I can't believe I haven't read it. It's essential for entrepreneurship because most guys aren't entrepreneurs. How many employees do you have?
Me personally? Just me right now.
You're self-employed and you pay the highest taxes.
Right.
They should teach you that stuff. See, there's a whole different skill level having employees. The biggest challenge for an employee becoming an entrepreneur is hiring employees. So that's why I went to military school. I went to academies. I'm a ring knocker, one of the 5 federal academies. I flew for the U.S. Marine Corps in Vietnam, helicopter gunship, killed a lot of people. But I had to learn leadership, teamwork, So I have thousands of employees. If you only have one, you're self-employed, you pay the highest taxes. It's called the cash flow quadrant. Get that book, read it. E stands for employee, 40% taxes. S stands for 60% taxes. You pay the highest taxes possible. B pays 20% in taxes. Insiders, 0.
Interesting.
See, because tax is communism. If you pay tax, you're a communist. As Karl Marx said, a graduated income tax is essential for the spread of communism. It's basic education.
Well,
I
love
went
it.
to military school.
But thank you for sharing that, because I didn't know at the time, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs watching this that don't even know that the cash flow quadrant even exists. So,
It's the #2 book in the world.
yeah.
You boys better read. Look, what makes you rich is education, but #1 is skills. So when I came out of the Marine Corps, these are the Marine Corps wings here. Killed a lot of people in the name of capitalism. I don't like Marxists. Most school teachers are Marxists. Charlie Kirk and I were speaking at Arizona State University together, and the 39 professors shut us down. The professors came up and they said to us, to the students, if any of you show up for Charlie Kirk and me, we'll flunk you. So my question today is, who shot Charlie Kirk?
Oh, good
I've been
point.
threatened.
Yeah.
So I teach capitalism. Most academics are Marxists. They believe in labor unions. The biggest union in America today, the teachers' union. Okay. And they don't teach capitalism. They teach Marxism. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save
Retire,
money, pay
yep.
taxes, get out of debt, buy a house. So you better choose your teachers wisely. So that's why ESBI, if you're going to move from the ENS to the BNI, you better choose your teachers differently. So I had to choose my rich dad to get to the BNI side, because my poor dad was a PhD, and most of my family's on the ENS side. They're highly educated, poor people who pay taxes. I didn't want to do that.
Nope.
But your teachers make a big difference.
Absolutely. I've had good teachers and I've had bad teachers, but it all reflects in the end, doesn't it?
And they make millions and millions of dollars and have employees and all that.
Absolutely.
I tell you, when you have an employee, your life changes. So to be a B, you have to have over 500 employees. The mindset is completely different. Leadership skills are completely different. So that's why my rich dad said to me, go to military school. So I got nominations to a place called U.S. Naval Academy, U.S. Military Academy, and Kings Point in New York. I took New York. We're the highest paid graduates in the world.
Wow.
So I learned to sail. I sail oil tankers for Standard Oil. My starting pay was $120,000 a year in 1969.
Wow.
It's not much money today, of course.
Right.
How many kids are going to make $120,000 when they graduate from school now, aren't they?
I think so.
And AI is going to take their jobs, and they're still going to school to get a job. How stupid are they?
Quite.
Quite.
Yeah.
They're brainwashed. Go
Absolutely.
to school, get a job, work hard, save money. So that's why I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's about the financial statement. You've got to know accountancy and financial literacy. You've got to be able to sell. And the reason I'm here at the New Orleans Investment Conference, I spent years in here raising capital to take my gold mines public. See, the goal of any entrepreneur is, #1, own your own jet. I own a Lear 60. And take a company public. I've taken 3 companies public. Toronto Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange. Those are the goals of an entrepreneur on the B and the I side. They're very different than the E and the S side and small business guys. Very different. So the skill sets are different. Your teachers are different. Your mindset's different. Your drive is different. And so that's why when I came out of the Marine Corps in 1974, the 401k started. My rich dad said, stay away from that 401k. They're going to rip people off. I said, I got it. I said, what should I do? He says, you got to learn how to sell. So I got a job at the Xerox Corporation selling. I couldn't sell at all. And then after that, he says, you have to learn how to pitch a deal. So then I have to learn public speaking to pitch deals. That's what makes you rich. So I raised millions. I mean, I'm sitting here, I just got here today in New Orleans. I found some of the best deals. I can't believe how much money I'm going to make. But I'm insider on the deal. I don't buy the stocks. I want to buy from the inside, not the outside.
Go to
It's
the
all
source.
mindset
Absolutely.
and your teachers.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. In your book, and you've talked about this frequently, especially when it comes to real estate, there's something called good debt and bad debt. And I would love for you to dive into that, of how you use good debt to get to where you are today and what bad debt does to Main Street Americans. So if you could dive into that and talk about it.
Well, that's why my rich dad said I learned how to sell. So I worked for Xerox.
Right.
And I had to learn how to raise capital. Raise capital was get debt. So debt is a four-letter word, and debt, but money became debt in 1971 when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. So we have bonds today. Bonds are debt, most dangerous instruments there are. But Wall Street says debt is safe. Oh God, you watch, this is going to be the biggest bond market crash ever coming right now. So, but debt is a four-letter word, so I had to learn how to use debt. So that's why I took real estate classes. So I had to learn how to raise money, to guide debt to acquire property, and manage the property was hard too. So real estate's a very, very good starter for entrepreneurs. So today, with total in my real estate, I have oil companies, and I have a gold mine and a silver mine. So I have 3 gold mines, 2 silver mines. I'm $1.2 billion in debt.
Billion.
$1.2 billion in
Wow.
debt. In real estate, I'm about $500 million in debt. Debt became money in 1971. But you've got to learn how to handle it. So my friend is Ken McElroy. He's an expert at debt. I'm not good at debt, but I find guys who are good at debt and I invest with them. That's the ESBI insider. I'm looking for entrepreneurs who are good with debt.
Interesting.
And
I
guys
love
like
that.
Dave Ramsey say, live debt free.
Yeah.
Well, that's good for most people.
Yeah.
But he doesn't understand if we don't borrow money, the economy collapses because the money became debt in 1971. If you and I stop borrowing, there's no money. Money is only created when debt is created. So I'm very patriotic with $1.2 billion in debt. But Ramsey says live debt free. So if you don't know how to handle debt, cut up your credit cards, hang out with Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman. Those are your teachers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have a choice as a young person. One of the best lessons I learned was in Sunday school. And I'm sitting there, I was a screw up in school the whole time. So I'm in Sunday school, and the teacher said to me, she says, what made the 3 wise men wise? And I was like, they were rich? She goes, why'd you say that? I said, well, they came to see Jesus with gold, frankincense, and myrrh. You have to be a rich man. That stuff's expensive. And in Christian schools, the love of money is the root of all evil.
That's right.
So she goes, so why do you say they were rich? He said, that's not it. I said, well, what made them wise? Oh, what made them wise? I said, I don't know. She says, they always sought the best teacher. I was 7 years old. I went, wow, I can choose my teachers. And so for young people, choose your teachers wisely. You want to be like Dave Ramsey on the E and the S side? Follow Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman. Okay, do you know what I mean? Those are teachers. They're
Yeah.
good.
All kinds of teachers. Absolutely.
And if a guy doesn't have 500 employees, I wouldn't listen to him. They don't know how to handle people. People are leverage,
It's so true. Yep.
So I have thousands of employees all over the world. I have multiple companies, but I use employees and I use debt and I use I have very smart accountants and attorneys. I'm a team player. U.S. Marine Corps, we lead.
Absolutely.
Okay? So that's those skills he wanted. So I joined the Marines because if I was going to Vietnam, I wanted to make sure I went to Vietnam where people want to kill people. You know, if I wanted to learn how to save people, I joined the U.S. Coast Guard.
It's so true because you understand which teacher you need and who to go to.
Choose your teachers wisely.
Absolutely.
Choose your organizations wisely.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I was sitting there like this. I was 69, and they're looking for pilots. And so the Air Force stood up there and says, "We have the best golf courses." The Army says we have the most tanks and stuff like this. And the Navy says we had aircraft carriers. And the Coast Guard says we save people's lives. And the Marines stood up there and says, "We kill people. Join us."
Well, there's one way of putting
I
it,
said,
right?
you're crystal clear in your mission.
Oh, absolutely.
We kill people.
Yeah.
And I went to the world, you know, like Navy SEALs come up to me, this is a brotherhood, because our mission is to kill. We're the best killers in the world. Now, I'm not recommending it in the civilian world, but if you go to war, who do you want to go with? Coast Guard guy or a Marine, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you choose. As a young person like you have a lot of choices, but think the choices through.
Absolutely.
Where's it going to take you? You know, you go to med school, you come out a doctor. You go to flight school, you come out a pilot. Become a Marine, you kill people. Join the Coast Guard, you save lives.
Pretty straightforward from there, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But anyways, I won't take up too much of your time. We're just about to wrap up. So I know you kind of touched into this, but for us young entrepreneurs, and of course, choosing your teachers wisely, even besides that, what is just one piece of advice you would give to someone like me or my generation, the young entrepreneurs that are here at the New Orleans Investment Conference, trying to figure out their financial path, what their future looks like? So what is that one piece of advice you would
Michael,
give?
you're in such fertile country here. You have all of these guys here. They're all entrepreneurs pitching their deals. There's mining companies, there's this company, that kind of company. I would recommend, like for you, I've been one of those guys pitching my deal. I have my little booth, you know, pitching my gold mine in China. So your job is to go listen to all of these guys at these booths. Tell me what's good about your gold mine, what's bad, what's the pros, what's the cons. So you go and learn from other people pitching deals. So you're in the right place at the right time to learn how to raise capital, because it's an essential skill set of an entrepreneur. Most ESSAs cannot raise capital. They work hard. Like my doctor, she works really, really, really hard, and she charges a lot of money. That's not capitalism. That's Marxism. A capitalist is supposed to make a lot of money and keep prices low, produce a lot of profit. You know, like guys like Elon Musk, he's a capitalist. My doctor is a Marxist. She's a good doctor, but she keeps raising her prices. Musk keeps bringing better products at better prices. He's not working on his flying car. You know, I'm going, that guy is out there.
Absolutely.
That's an entrepreneur. Edison was an entrepreneur. Steve Jobs was an entrepreneur. Bees and Ice. Most entrepreneurs are S's. The Cash Flow Quadrant, book 2 in the Rich Dad series, essential if you're going to be an entrepreneur.
Duly noted. That will be on my things to do list as soon as I get back.
And play the cash flow game because you learn accounting. If you cannot control your numbers, you're not an entrepreneur.
Interesting. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. And for everyone listening, please check out Robert's resources at richdad.com. And if you haven't already, please go read Rich Dad and Poor Dad along with the Cash Flow Quadrant. That's also a very good book. It's one of the most eye-opening books on money and mindset ever written. And remember, the path to financial freedom just starts with ownership. Own your mindset, your assets, and your future. Take action today. And to all my listeners.
And your teachers.
And your teachers. Choose your teachers wisely. And of course, build yourself better and bigger every day. Live better, live bigger. Always move ever forward. And Robert, thank you so much for your time today.
You.
It was an honor.
You're in the right place. Go learn from these guys here.
Absolutely.
We're
We'll
all
do.
pitching deals.